So what does Yamuna mean to us? Is she the pristine, effervescent stream rushing down from Yamunotri? The nucleus of a million prayers? Is she the benevolent mother goddess for her people? Or the proverbial other sister? Or is she a filthy water body under the bridge? We got to know Yamuna better as we journeyed along with her the entire stretch of 1,370 kilometers. At Yamunotri, with a final hug, Yamuna bids adieu to the mighty Himalayas as she scurries down to newer destinations. An arduous uphill trek of 6 kilometers brings devotees by the hordes to Yamunotri, one of the 4 most revered holy pilgrimages or dhams. Overwhelming, it's unbelievable how small and insignificant the experience can make you feel. Nature at her irresistible best. But what was unbelievable was the extent to which tourism had blotted the divine landscape. It was getting impossible to distinguish the glacier from plastic waste that was strewn about in generous abundance. During the winters, when the dham stays covered in snow 8 feet deep, the temple closes down. It reopens on the Akshaya Tritiya every year, when the idol of Ma Yamuna is reinstated. In the snow months, the goddess is taken from her dham and installed at the tiny mountain village of Kharsali. Cozily nestled in the foothills of Bandarpunj Peak, Kharsali is home to 400 families of Hindu priests. A pandit has always meant for us an old, burly, bald man. What we found here instead was a young man, clad in a leather jacket and a pair of denims.
अक्टूबर भैया दूज के दिन जब माता जी का मंदिर वहाँ पे बंद होता है, कपाट बंद हो जाते हैं, तो यहाँ पर जो माँ यमुना की मूर्ति है, भोग मूर्ति, स्मृति चिन्ह के रूप में उसे यहाँ पर लाई जाती है और इन परिवारों में रखा जाता है। यहाँ यमुनोत्री से जैसे ही कपाट खुलते हैं तो यहाँ से फिर माँ यमुना की ढोली के साथ इस मूर्ति को यमुनोत्री को ले जाया जाता है।
Yamuna was slowly growing for us, both in terms of physicality and identity. We came across 2 other names for her with interesting stories behind them, Jamuna and Kalindi.
यमुना इसलिए है क्योंकि यमुना यम की बहन थी। जमुना को लाने के लिए जय मुनि ऋषि ने तपस्या की थी और फिर माँ यमुना का नाम जमुना पड़ा। एक नाम हो रहा है कालिंदी। जब माँ यमुना कालिंदी पर्वत से पृथ्वी लोक पे उतरी तो वहाँ पर कालिंदी पर्वत को स्पर्श करती हुई जब पृथ्वी लोक पे आई तो कालिंदी पर्वत ने उन्हें अपने अर्धांगिनी के रूप में स्वीकार किया, इसलिए माँ यमुना का नाम भी कालिंदी है।
Barely a kilometer from Kharsali, Janki Chatti is the last milestone before Yamunotri. This riverside village is the preferred base camp for tired yatris on their way to the pilgrimage. Our next destination, Kharadi, happened by chance.
हिमालय का ऊंचा डंडा बसंत की
Life literally sprouts out from within the river. A river that locals here not only celebrate and revere, but treat as a member of their family. The purity and sanctity of Ma Yamuna is a truth that these people live by.
जैसे ब्राह्मण खा हमारे हाथ की रोटी वैसे हम जल चढ़ाते हैं। जब बच्चा पैदा होते तो हम जमुना जी से छुआत नहीं करते जब तक हम ब्राह्मण शुद्ध नहीं करेगा।
Unfinger marked, the lives of the people in this part of the world seem enviably simple and happy. As opposed to her unconquerable self at Yamunotri, the Yamuna we met at Lakhamandal was tempestuous, almost seductive. Lakhamandal derives its name from a legend according to which it is the site of discovery of over 100,000 Shivlingas. It is believed that when the Pandavas were trying to escape from their mythical Lakshagrah, they sought refuge in this Himalayan village by the banks of the Yamuna. Lakhamandal has a sizable population of working women. Employment for people here ranges from farming to chopping wood to stone crushing. Lakhamandal has interesting beliefs regarding Yamuna's purity.
इसके शादी नहीं हुए तो इसलिए जो है पवित्र सबसे ज़्यादा ये मान गया।
She was romantic. She was lyrical. She was inspiring. We left Yamuna at Lakhamandal with indelible impressions. The first holy confluence of Yamuna, its tributary Kedar Ganga and the symbolic Ganga make Gangnani a place of great spiritual significance. The temple houses the idols of both Ganga and Yamuna. There is an interesting story about Ganga's presence in Gangnani.
थान गांव है एक इधर पार में, फिर वहाँ पे एक पंडित थे। फिर एक दिन अगर उन्होंने लौट-पाट नहीं कर पाए तो फिर गंगा माँ उनके सपने में आई कि भाई तू लौट-पाट नहीं कर सकता है और सुबह उठ के अपने जो सामान है पूजा के उन्हें अपने पीछे रख देना और खुद चलते जाना, फिर मैं खुद आ जाऊंगी।
In the midst of all this serenity, the hustle-bustle of Barkot comes as a pleasant surprise. One of the largest towns on the Yamuna Valley, busy Barkot unwinds by watching the occasional Bollywood film. As we descended from the mountains to the plains, Yamuna changed. She found a release and began to flow free and unrestricted. In the sleepy hamlet of Dark Pathar, sitting tough for thousands of years now, is Kalsi Rock. An Ashokan edict in stone, Kalsi Rock lists out commandments of life, as it were, during those times. Right after the ruthless Kaling battle, Ashoka took to Buddhism that advocates non-violence. He then chose this site for the installation of the edict right beside the river. As the Yamuna enters the plains, her natural course is stalled for the first time at Asan Barrage. This birdwatcher's paradise is responsible for fulfilling the electricity requirements of the state of Uttaranchal. Situated at a distance of 10 kilometers from Asan Barrage is Paonta Sahib. This Gurudwara is held in high esteem by the Sikhs, who believe that the 10th Guru Gobind Singh touched the ground with his foot, or paun as it is known in the vernacular, making it sacred.
Here, Guru Gobind Singh used to sit on the banks of river and used to recite poems. Guru Gobind Singh said to Jamna, "Oh Jamna ji, don't make noise. We are disturbed by your voice. Please make no noise." Since then, Jamna ji is obeying the orders of Guru Gobind Singh.
But this time around, it wasn't God who determined the destiny of the river. At Tajewala and Hathni Kund barrage, the river gets divided into the western and eastern canal. As Yamuna proceeds to irrigate the Green Revolution states of Punjab and Haryana, what remains now of the original river is just a tiny trail of water. As you drive into Yamuna Nagar, there is a sense of claustrophobia that grips you. One fine morning, Abdullahpur in Haryana woke up to a new name, Yamuna Nagar. A Yamuna canal had just been brought in, and she changed their lives forever. And in turn, they changed hers. Today, Yamuna Nagar is part of the richest industrial belt in the country. The city boasts of the largest plywood industry, some of the biggest paper mills, steel and sugar factories. We tried asking the residents what the river meant to them.
जगाधरी में कोई भी आदमी अगर मकान बनाएगा तो रेता तो काम आएगा ही। वो दादोपुर से ही आ रही है ये नदी। नदी से कोई मतलब ही नहीं है इसका।
Used, abused, abandoned and taken for granted. That's Yamuna in Yamuna Nagar. We could not help but notice the skyline, where behind every second house stood an arrogant chimney, indicative of a pipe letting out colossal amounts of effluents into the river. She then flows through the agricultural landscape of Haryana, further subsumed by large quantities of pesticide. Delhi was destination next, and that was not a nice thought. The politics, the sweat, the chaos. We were in familiar territory once again. The river enters Delhi at Palla village, where camouflaged under the apparent beauty and greenery lie dumps of sewage and pesticide. A hapless victim of the distribution wars between Haryana and Delhi, Yamuna still manages to quench 70% of Delhi's thirst. The 5,000-year-old city owes its very existence to the Yamuna that willfully ebbs through its veins. Stopped at Wazirabad, the riverbed becomes naked once again. But within a distance of 50 meters, Yamuna is hailed by the Najafgarh drain, one of the 17 drains that empty themselves into the river in Delhi. The Najafgarh drain diligently pumps in almost 1,500 million litres of sewage every day. Yamuna, once a flowing river, now a gushing drain. It was impossible not to notice the paradox, the wealth and knowledge of a powerful capital and a pathetic river. There is just one word to describe Yamuna in Delhi: dead. The river has been declared E-class by the Central Pollution Control Board. Leave alone human beings, the water is not even fit for animals to bathe in. However, a direct economic relationship with the river continues even in the metropolitan city of Delhi. Makhanlal, a coin diver, spends at least 12 hours in the midst of all the grime and muck. easy as it may be to rest all the blame on impoverished homeless slum dwellers who defecate alongside the river, it is important to realize that every single flush in the city of Delhi pumps out its filth into the Yamuna. For us, she's just a water body, a hurdle to zip over Trans-Yamuna, and that's where it ends. After the extreme despair one feels on seeing Yamuna in Delhi, the serenity of the river at Vrindavan is truly a welcome relief. The Parikrama Marg that leads to the river is sprinkled with Radha Krishna graffiti, be it on a tiny tea shop, a sole tree, or an abandoned cow. The self-cleansing capacity of resilient Yamuna is difficult to miss as she enters Vrindavan. Here it is believed that a day is not complete without a visit to the Yamuna. Vrindavan is home to the maximum number of temples in the country. The land of Krishna and the epitome of spirituality, the Yamuna here is worshipped like nowhere else. Every lamp that is let into the river is a repository of supreme faith and devotion. Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, worships Yamuna not as a river goddess or the daughter of the sun god, but here she is Krishna's fourth queen and hence deserving of all the grandeur. The city lives on the river, with the ghat as the nerve center of the economy. Each ghat also has its own story to tell.
यमयुतिया के दिन जो भी भाई बहन हाथ पकड़ के यहाँ स्नान करते हैं, पूजन करते हैं, उनको कभी भी यमलोक की यातना प्राप्त नहीं होती है.
In both Mathura and Vrindavan, it is the same devotion that acts as a curse, which blights the river. The coexistence of the Janambhoomi temple and the Shahi Masjid point to Yamuna's indispensable presence, irrespective of the religious faith. It was a rainy night as we drove towards Agra. In the distance, there was a shimmering light. It was almost like a fire eater, breathing glorious flashes of fire into the sky. Right behind Shah Jahan's epitome of love in white marble flow the apologetic remains of what was once Yamuna. The shallow river here is constantly attacked by the proliferating leather and tanning industries in Agra.
Oh, Majhire, apna kinara, nadiya ki dhara hai, koi kinara majhdhare se mile wo, apna kinara hai, ho Majhire.
51-year-old Dinanath has been ferrying Taj visitors across the Yamuna for 15 years now. He has seen the river change for over a decade, but his love remains.
मेरी ज़िंदगी में तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा महत्व है इसका कि ये सबकी माँ है, बहती हुई जाती हैं, बहती हुई आती हैं, ये सब लोग बाग इसकी पूजा करते हैं।
The riverside celebrated by Shah Jahan, frolicked upon by young Krishna, continues to be bowled over. Deep inside the ravines of Chambal, a parched Yamuna meets 4 more of her tributaries: Ken, Betwa, Son and Chambal. Here the river becomes voluminous and gets a new lease of life as she prepares for her ultimate destination, Prayag. Enter Prayag and you encounter the overwhelming presence of the river. From a tiny trickle running down the mountains to a shallow creek to an expansive body of water, the Yamuna is indefatigable. At Prayag, the Sangam, or the confluence of the country's most worshipped rivers, Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, marks one of the nation's most pious spots. It could only have been Yamuna, our Yamuna, who still manages to smile despite everything that she's endured. Flower offerings to plastic bags, to dead bodies. Man carries on relentlessly in the path towards indefinite progress. Meanwhile, for Yamuna, the journey continues. With a characteristic quiet tolerance, she merges into the Ganga, selflessly abandoning her identity. Why should we have to bereave a river when we hail progress? What gives her that infinite ability to sustain the faith of 1,000,000 hearts after being battered so mercilessly? Where does the river end? And where does the goddess begin? So what does Yamuna mean to us?